Chapter 2 Club is the smart woman's guide to divorce and everything after. On this podcast, we'll help you write your next chapter. Hello, and welcome to the Chapter 2 Club podcast. We're kicking off our series, Dating After Divorce, Modern Dating Strategies for Women today. We are so excited to have our dating expert, Cassie Keim, for this series. Cassie is a renowned dating and relationship strategist, author, speaker, and coach. She's a leading expert in the industry and is the founder and CEO of Innovative Match, a national relationship services firm. She's the author of the book Finding Love After 50 and the syndicated Ask Cass blog. Welcome to the program, Cassie. We're excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here, Mary Beth. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Tell us all a little bit about yourself.
Well, let's see. I am in San Francisco, but I work nationwide. I have been working with single men and women since I was in my 20s, so almost 30 years now. And I absolutely love what I do. I've seen so many positive things come out of working with singles, especially after divorce. I am married with 3 children, and like I said, I live outside of San Francisco and absolutely love what I do.
Great. Why did you get into this?
So that's an interesting question because when I started, it wasn't even an industry. Matchmaking was not even out there. And I came back from college and I was looking for a job, and I came across a woman that I've known. I actually met her when I was in high school because her daughter was a friend of mine, and she said, "I'm starting a matchmaking firm." I had no idea what she was talking about because, like I said, there was nothing out there. I told my parents, they thought I was nuts. But anyway, I started with this job and loved it. It was a very small company, local, and then it grew to regional, national, and international. What they focused on was working with educated singles, professionals, that did not have time to date. And a lot of that stemmed from the growth of Silicon Valley and how people migrated out here to Silicon Valley for the startups. And it was that big boom, that tech boom. And so, as you know, a lot of the people were working long hours. So dating was difficult. But what also was interesting about matchmaking is the typical demographics were really women that have been divorced. It was expensive, so they were able to pay for it. And we really grew that company based on that demographics of 38 and older. So I worked with that demographics. I was there 19 years, and then I launched my company in 2010.
And why'd you launch your company?
So what I realized through working with men and women, especially after divorce or widowed, that there was more than just introductions, more than just matchmaking. It really had to do with strategies for each person and how they get out there again. And I've said this so many times, you can put matches in front of people or introduce them to people, but if it doesn't come from a place where they really know who they are and what they want, it doesn't work. And so when I launched my company in 2010 as a dating strategist and coach, I realized that the coaching and identifying that right partner, teaching them how to date smart was really critical in this process. I also realized in 2008 the power of online dating. And as far as matchmakers, while on one hand they're great, but for a broader audience and for the majority of people out there, they really can't afford those prices. So I wanted to develop a company that really taught my clients how to be their own matchmaker, and they don't have to spend a lot of money. So that's really why I did it.
Wow. Well, what's interesting about that? You think about so many things that we actually learn. We learn how to drive, but no one ever teaches us how to date.
No, and it's really difficult too when you've been married a long time. You've been with that one person, and maybe you met them when you were in your 20s or out of college, or maybe you met them in your 30s. But you were with somebody for that period of time, and in your mind, when you get married, you don't think you're going to be out there dating again. And especially in the way technology has really taken over so much of the way we communicate and what we do and how to meet people. And so we go into this, it's like, where do we start? What do we do? And how do we do it? There's a lot of fear behind it. And so it's such new territory that navigating dating after being divorced can be frightening for a lot of people.
Yes, I found it terrifying. I wanted to crawl in a hole.
I know, and I'm trying to dig out my clients. Get out of the hole. You got to get out of the hole. Come on, we can do this.
Cassie comes to work with her shovel to try and find her clients in the holes where they buried themselves.
That's right.
So I know this from knowing you, and you talk about it in your book, that your work is really your passion. Why is that?
There's two reasons why I absolutely love what I do. Well, there's more than two, but two of the biggest reasons is my belief about health and human connection. I am a cancer survivor, and I actually was in remission when I started with this company in my 20s. And so I came to working with women and men that were divorced and widowed, and their pain of loss, their fear, and their desire for human connection again. Those were the emotions that I felt as I was going through my situation. So I really was able to not only empathize and be compassionate about it, but to really, it resonated in me about that benefit of health and human connection. I also, I've been studying a lot, watching the growth of where we are as far as, living longer. Studies out there, I follow WebMD, Harvard Studies, MIT, Pew Studies. They're all talking about how that human connection and love will help you with depression and anxiety and heart disease and cancer and living a longer life. So that, to me, that desire for human connection is very powerful in what I really believe in. The other thing is, doing this for almost 30 years and having people go through such a journey of self-discovery once they get out there and start dating again, and their courage and getting over fear, it's very inspiring for me because I have seen so many men and women find love again. And it's that journey that they take when they say, I'm going to get out there and date again. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try. And it takes a ton of courage. People don't understand that. It takes a ton of courage to get back out there and date again. Whether you left your spouse or your partner or they left you, it's a loss, no matter how you look at it. And so it's inspiring to me. And I've met people all around the country, and no matter what age they are or what they've gone through, they'd say, I want to do this again. And I absolutely love that about my work, to see the transformation of fear going into confidence and excitement and letting that go.
So when you look at this, you have all of this experience looking at women who have been divorced. And what do you see as kind of the biggest hurdles that you've seen in them kind of getting off the bench, getting back out there and dating again?
Many singles, which is a natural feeling for them, is to build an emotional wall. And they're not really sure if they want to invest emotionally again. There's a lot of fear there, and that's reasonable. Those are the things that I see as hurdles. And also, not sure where to start, what to do, and whether they measure up. How do they feel about themselves? And the acceptance of where you are in your life is such a critical part about beginning to date. And I always say, what do you want to do in your life as far as the next year or 5 years? Where do you see yourself? Things are different now because you're on your own, whether you have kids or you don't, but you're in your career life. It's a new chapter. And people's hurdles is their fear and it's anxiety. And they're not sure whether or not they really want to do this again. That's really what the hurdle is.
Yeah, it's being in that place of, I may want to start to have a relationship again, but I don't want to date to get there.
Well, right. And, it's funny that you talk about that because dating, I look at the double D, daunting, dating. Like I look at the dating is daunting. Like it doesn't seem like it's fun. But I'll tell you, if you do it right, dating is a lot of fun. And you have to go into it too, saying, all right, I'm going to meet people, but you're expanding your social circle. You're meeting people that you wouldn't meet on your own just by getting out there and dating again and meeting people and exposing yourself to a larger circle of people. It's actually fun. Many times people don't even believe that they're happier now than they were before.
So one of the things that I know you do really well for women is help them develop these smart dating strategies to help with all of that. So what does that mean? Can you walk us through some of those and what they mean? Because given that people feel so anxious and may not have done this in a while, I think that's one of the huge things around dating is when you're divorced is you may have dated at a time that you were meeting people because it was a friend of yours in college, or, you're in a campus party, or it's a work party in your early 20s, and things are different later in life with how you meet people, how you prepare, how you date. And certainly, as you've talked about, the dating landscape has changed. So what are some of these strategies that can help women overcome some of this fear and anxiety and get back out there?
So when I talk about date smart strategies, what I really mean is that, you come to me or people say, okay, well, what does it mean to date smart? And it's very individualized, but on a broader scope, what you want to do is, I always say, embrace a new perspective. Attitude is very critical when you want to start dating. And you have to come into, you don't have to be 100% excited about it. Again, we just talked about the fear, and it's going to be there. But you have to make a decision that this is something that you want to do. We as women and men, we're very powerful. Human beings are powerful. We make our mind up to do something. We say, okay, I'm going to do this. You embrace that perspective and say, okay, I'm going to try. So where do I start? One of the things that I always say is, I ask this question, and it's kind of people are like, well, what do you mean? And I always say, would you date yourself? People sit back and they I've never heard of that. No, you have not, because I'm asking you really how you feel about yourself. How you feel about yourself is a critical step when you want to get out and date.
What does that mean when you say that? When you ask women, how are they evaluating that question?
What I say is, how do you feel about yourself? Right? If they say, I don't feel good about myself, or I feel okay, or I feel great about myself, you want to get more towards the yes. And what I mean by that is, when we're older, things change. Our bodies change, the way we look or the way we feel. There's things in our life that have shaped us to be where we are today, very different than when we were in our 20s, right? In our 30s, we're different, and our experiences have shaped us to be different, in both positive and negative. There's certain things that hold women and men back. A lot of it with women has to do with weight, how they physically feel about themselves. Men often go into it, whether it's their career or, where they are in their lives, and you have to get to a place to say, I like who I am. I may want to change certain things about myself. The core, I like myself. You want to come from that place because you want to meet somebody that's like-minded, that feels good about themselves too. That's a really important part of dating, is liking where you are today and accepting where you are. The other thing about that is learning about your lifestyle. Date Smart Strategies also is about lifestyle, and this is what I mean by that. If you're a working mom, your time is limited. That you've got, I've got my kids, I'm doing this on the weekends, and I work full time. Is dating somebody that does not have kids, that could travel all the time, is that going to work for you? I don't think so. Or like the man that says, I'm almost retired, or I've got a flexible schedule. He's going to want to date somebody that also could possibly have a flexible schedule. Or you talk about, do I want to date somebody that has distance, or where am I in my life? And those are critical things to look at. If the lifestyle, Mary Beth, does not match, it won't work long term. So you have to say, Date Smart Strategies. All right, would I date myself? Yes. Yes, these are the reasons why I like myself. No, these are the things I want to change. Don't let the things that you want to change or lose weight or whatever you want to do hold you back. Use dating as a reason to make those changes. The excitement, that's the boost in the excitement. And then look at your lifestyle. Write these things down. Where am I today? What is my daily life like? What are my weekends like? And how would that partner complement and support my lifestyle, and how can I do the same in return? That's huge. And then also the dating myths. You have to get over the dating myths. And what are those dating myths about learning to date smart? You got to eliminate certain things like, men don't want to date somebody my age. Mary Beth, I get that all the time. I'm too old. That is not true at all. Honestly, that's very rare. That is something that women put in their minds, that men, their age range, don't want to date their age. That is not true. And that there's no good men out there. That is ridiculous. There are so many wonderful men and women out there that are looking for love. You can't have those fear hurdles hold you back. And then live for the process and not the outcome. A lot of my work and what I've seen is that journey that we talked about, which is go into this as a journey. Don't go into this saying, okay, I want to meet that person right away. I don't want to do this for a long time. I don't like dating. You got to look at it like this is a process and get excited about the process. If you look at it like a process, it'll make the journey so much more fun.
What are some ways that you talked with women or you coached them around kind of getting excited about the process? Because I can hear a lot of our listeners saying, if only I could be excited about the process, then I could do all that. So what are some strategies or some recommendations that you have for women to kind of get in that mindset of seeing this as a process, of really looking at this as expanding the social network and seeing it in a fun way rather than seeing it as that daunting task ahead of them?
One of the things that is so important to remember about getting out and dating again is you've got to look at it as each person has their own process, right? And what is your comfort zone, right? Because you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone to get out and date again. It's so much easier to sit on the couch and not do it, right?
Right. Like you literally have to get out of your living room.
Right. And you're just so happy you're watching your show on TV and it's a Friday night and your friends are out on a date. You're like, well, have fun because I don't want to be there. And, a lot of times you hear these stories about, how horrible dating is or online dating or the friends setup. I make a joke about the friends setup. So how do you get excited about dating? And it's such an exciting topic for me. I can't say it enough. I have seen so many wonderful things in my almost 3 decades of dating. And it's not just about going into it saying, I want to find the one. A lot of what happens is we are not sure, women and men are not sure what they want. And that's identifying that right partner. And again, that goes back into that date smart strategies. When you identify what you want, let me give you an example. Women, I go through this a lot with women. They're not quite sure if they really want a companion or if they really want a lover. What do they want? Are they really ready to go into that romantic side of a relationship? They're not always so sure. And I think if you get rid of the pressure that you put on yourself, you're going to feel a whole lot better. You can't go into it saying, I don't really know what I want. Sometimes you don't know what you want. Do you want somebody to just go to the movies with or sit on the couch on a Friday night and have a great, bottle of wine or cup of tea, whatever you want? Or do you want to have that romance? And that pressure, Mary Beth, is what we go through. We put so much pressure on ourselves that we feel like the excitement is gone. You got to get rid of that pressure and say, I just want to go meet people. You got to put the expectation intact. What is my expectation? You know what? I just want to meet people and get out there. And if you do it right and you come from a place of strength, it is exciting. But if you go into it not quite sure what you want, that's the fear. You have to sit down and say, okay, what do I want? I want to start dating again, but I don't want some serious relationship. I don't want to be trapped on my first date. I don't know what to do. You have to put that aside. I want to get out there slowly. I'm going to let go of expectation. I don't want to feel pressure. It's that pressure of feeling that you're not good enough, that you don't look right, that you don't have the right job, or you don't know what to do. You have to let it go and go into it saying, I want to get out and meet people and expand my social network. And I'm interested in dating. I'm interested in meeting people. That's exactly what I tell people all the time. And get excited about your new chapter in your life. Close that door and another one will open up. And this is exactly where you're supposed to be in your life today. Where you are right now is where you're supposed to be. And if you believe in that, you can use that as a launching pad to say, I believe that this is where I'm supposed to be. I want that human connection again. I know it's something that I want and that I miss, and I can go out there and do it.
I can see how people love working with you. That's super clear. One of the things I wanted to bring up and ask if you might tell our audience a little bit about is what you refer to as your personal tree of life. I just love that concept. And can you tell our listeners about what the personal tree of life is and how that affects you in online dating?
And in life, it's funny, about 2 years ago, I was in a yoga class. I'm not very good at yoga, but I went and I thought I'm going to just try it because it's so calming and I need calming. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and there's a tree pose where you're standing, right? And your feet are very rooted in the ground. You have your arms, you lift up, and it's like your arms are going up to the sky and you're really looking up and you're saying, I'm reaching, right? And it's a very powerful position. And it just hit me. This feeling your tree, your personal tree is so critical, not just in dating, but in life. And I don't know if you've ever seen it, but that tree, there's an emblem, the tree, and it's a necklace, and I have it. And it's very powerful. And this is what I mean. The roots of your tree is your foundation. It's what you've had in your life. It's your childhood, your life. It's what keeps you rooted. It's the foundation of your life and your experience. Your trunk is your core. It's the strength of your core and your life experience inside your core. And then your arms are like branches that, they're rising up. And this is what, your arms are out. You're saying, I believe in myself. This is what I'm radiating. I'm rising above my trunk. I'm lifting my hands up and saying, I am strong. You notice that some people put their hands a little bit closer to their ears, or they're not raising them so high. That's your vulnerability. That's your fear. Right there, when you lift up your arms, you can feel it like I'm opening up my heart. I'm opening up myself, that I could be vulnerable again, that I don't have to be afraid, and that I trust myself. Your core is your trust. And you have to come from a place of strength in your core, in the trunk of your body, the trunk of your tree, and say, I am okay. I can do this. I am strong. And you have to nurture that, right? By human connection, eating right, exercising, letting go of anxiety, letting go of your fear. All the things that you feed yourself is critical in the growth of your own tree. And when you come from a stable base, your tree, who you are, is actually a very strong person. And I believe in human strength too. And you can overcome divorce, overcome these things, and become that strong person again. But when you lift up your arms, think about where your arms go. Are they above your ears? Are they out? Are you opening up your heart? Because that's when it all happens. That's the magic right there, is opening up your heart and feeling vulnerable and letting go of fear.
Well, and I'd imagine too, when you talk about that kind of reaching and that vulnerability that you have to do when you date, but then reminding yourself of all that's there in that core, that's based on. It's not just like you're running out with no support whatsoever. I think that's why I like the tree metaphor so much. A tree reaches up and it grows new branches, but it stays grounded and fundamentally connected always to that core. And I think sometimes we forget that in terms of, in life in general, but certainly, in talking with lots of women after divorce is very hard. And so reminding yourself of all of these strengths, who you are at your core is really important.
Yes, and you remind yourself of, like I said, you're supposed to be where you are today. And look at all the things that you've done in your life, and look what you've overcome. I'm a firm believer that fear stops people in so many ways in their lives, and it's understandable. But when you come from a place of strength inside and say, this is who I am. Would I date myself? Do I like who I am? Yes, I do. And look at my support system and look what I've built in my life. And yes, I want to make these changes. When you open yourself up, you open your heart up. And ultimately, that is what to me is such a powerful place for human beings, is to being able to open themselves up again after being divorced or after being widowed. And it's a very powerful vision. And if people could just think of themselves as that core, that their own tree, and how do I nurture my tree so that I can continue to grow and radiate that love that I really do have inside myself and just bring it out.
Yeah. And one of the things I wanted to ask about with that is, it seems like this is also a place where your friends, your family, your support system who really know and love you could also help in terms of, reminding you and telling you and giving you from outside of you what they see about you.
That's so true. And, one of the things that I always talk about in the beginning when identifying yourself, what you want, and, your future partner, is really talking about writing those things down. I have a list in my book that says, write down the affirmations, go to your friends and family who you trust and love. They understand watching the pain of divorce. They understand. They've seen who you are. They know you, and say, tell me, I need to hear, what are those positive things about me, and nurture that. Because that's important to say, I have a support system. Honestly, Mary Beth, not everybody wants to get out there and date again and find that partner right off the bat. And that just alleviates that expectation and the pressure. You want to go into it saying, I liked how I felt when I was with him or her and I was married, because ultimately it's nice to find that one partner, right? And you can get there again and just go slowly with it. Take your time. But attitude is key in this. Attitude is critical.
It seems like there's probably some part of this plan that involves doing really nice things for yourself as you go through this dating process. I'm imagining there's like doing a little cheerleading for yourself and making sure you're doing nice things.
Wear the pom-poms. You become your own cheerleader. But let me just say it again. It is easier to sit on the couch on a Friday night than go out there and date again. I understand that. But at the end of the day, do you really want to be on that couch by yourself? Is that what you want? Life goes by very fast. Time is the only thing that we have. And as we get older, we know how precious time is. And again, if you go into it understanding what you want, I just want a companion to see maybe once or twice a week, or go for a walk, or go to the movies. That's great, because you've figured out what you want. People get afraid when they're not sure what they want. And that's okay, because the journey of self-discovery happens, but just let go of that pressure and say, I'd like to be with somebody again. Like I said, it's easier, two things. It's easier to stay in a relationship that's not working than to walk away. And it's easier to sit on the couch on a Friday night because you're really happy because you just got off the phone with your best friend from college, and you talk to her about her life, and you have your food and your dinner and your animals or whatever that give you love, which is wonderful too. But if down deep inside you really want to get out and date again, then do it.
So I just want to make sure that I got all these because I'm taking avid notes. You talked about making sure you have that right mindset and embracing that perspective and looking at this as expanding your social network. And then you talked about like making sure you understand yourself and would you date yourself, and looking at really those important lifestyle factors. And then really kind of getting over some of those myths and taking those out of your mind and coming into it and being open to what's happening. And recognizing that there is fear, that it is easier to sit on a couch, but really calming that down and just keeping an open, fresh perspective by looking at the process, not the outcome.
Not the outcome. Your own personal romance journey.
One of the things that we hear often is, I just can't have my heart broken again. I can't be disappointed. What do you say to women to help them deal with that fear that, they're almost worried about the end before they've even started dating?
That's a good question, because disappointment is something that I work with women and men almost every day. And so, when we get older, disappointment becomes a part of our life. We get disappointed. But along with being disappointed, you can also say, I've been disappointed, but I know that if I do this right and get out and date again, yes, I'll be disappointed here and there, but ultimately the end result will be so much better than thinking that I'm going to be disappointed. In life, we get disappointed a lot, like I just said. However, if you date smart and you do it right, and you say part of dating is rejection and it's up and down, but you go into it with the mindset of saying, I'd rather take the risk of being disappointed again than not taking the risk at all. Because at the end of the day, if you do it right, you will find what you want. We always do as human beings. If we want something, we set our minds to it, we'll make it happen. And disappointment is the way it is in life, but it should not hold you back. Because I started out when there was no industry. I've seen it all. But when you have the courage to get out there again, and you let go of the fear, and you let go of the myths, and you let go of the expectation and the pressure, you could go into it saying, I'm okay with disappointment, because I know at the end, I won't be disappointed because I'm doing it right and I have the right attitude.
That's great. And I think that's another place, right, where you can look to your friends for support and say, hey, I'm doing this. I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need your encouragement. I'm going to need your support when things don't go great. And there's a lot of ways. And certainly coming on the Chapter 2 Club, site and the forums and the articles to share, because I know that there are many of us out there who are all dealing with this. And so having the support of other people can really help through that.
Yes, and just having a go-to place, hearing what the Chapter 2 has to say about many different parts of our lives that where we are today, because we change. We change a lot. Each decade we change, and we change through our experiences. And you got to look at the divorce or widowed or breakup of a relationship as where you're supposed to be, and what did you do to contribute to that? Accept that, be accountable, and what you could do to make those changes to get to an even better place. It's like a gift. Even though it's hard to look at it like that, it's a gift. Instead of looking at it like this was awful and disappointing, which it is, but you got to turn it around and say, what did I learn from this? And get excited for your next chapter in life. Like I said, life goes by fast. I'm a firm believer. I had my own experience in my 20s in college, and I understand how precious life is. So go out and make it happen. Don't let it happen. Make it happen.
So Cassie, what would you say if you were going to sum this up? What is it all about?
This is a saying that I have in my book, and I say it almost every day. You must make a choice to take a chance, or your life will never change. I say that all the time. You say, I'm going to make this choice. I have courage to take a chance, and then my life will change. That is something that is so important for me to come across right now, for me to say to your audience. Just make the choice to have the courage to take a chance. Then your life will change. And that is a very positive way to look at it. It's about having that courage. And women and men already have the courage. We've already been through a lot, and especially after divorce. And it's just getting out there and saying, I want to get back out there. I want to have an opportunity to meet somebody. And how do I do it?
Cassie, thank you so much for being with us today. And for our listeners, I want to say, too, this is the first in a series. So in our next podcast, we are going to talk about online dating, what it is and how to get good at it. And then we'll have more. So stay with us, send us your questions, and we'll pose them to Cassie and see if we can get a few of those answered in the next podcast. But until then, take care, and we will be back with you soon.